we grew up in Louisiana, New Orleans, born and raised in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Um, so understood, I think, just being in the area that we were, how devastating the impact of structural racism has been in America, right? And then seeing some of the beautiful examples of community resilience from the Black Muslim community. It's also a historical community in the Deep South, where you find Black Muslims that were part and parcel of the struggle, and that were also doing the most vital work for community in the midst of, just terrible circumstances of poverty and injustice. So I saw the Klan growing up. I encountered the KKK. David Duke, my when I tell you there's a history here, one of the things I'm most proud of my pops for doing is throwing David Duke out of the masjid. And
La ilaha
he has
illallah.
a story of doing, he has a story of doing that in 1988, throwing David Duke out of the masjid. So yeah, no, it's a funny, profound story, because I have a legacy or a history of interactions with David Duke, and I doubt David Duke would remember that my father was the one that threw him out of a masjid when he came in and tried to like sort of take advantage of like unsuspecting people not knowing who he was, and like start talking about Israel and like, how we need to unite against Israel. And then it was like, no, I know who you are. And throwing him out of the masjid. So that's something that goes deep into our history. Now, fast forward a bit. So he connected me, and my father knew Imam Jamil Amin. My father introduced me to Imam Jamil Amin at a Muslim camp, at a youth camp. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free Imam Jamil and help me understand the mountain of the man that was in front of me. So it was something that I credit my parents first and foremost. I do want to make one thing clear, though. This is actually really interesting about just growing up in New Orleans. I was Creole passing. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, I know a lot of Black Muslims who swear to God that Omar Suleiman is Black. And I think it has something to do with the beard shape up and the tallness and but yeah, I've had several people tell me, no, he's Black.
I never had to identify as being, Arab or Arab American or anything like that. Like I went to an all Black school, and in New Orleans, a lot of people are racially ambiguous. Mm-hmm. I was racially ambiguous. It never really was a thing. Most people just assumed I was biracial, the way that a lot of people were. So that was the assumption, just, I'm biracial. And actually, subhanAllah, it just so happened that my father has a very dark complexion and my mother had a very light, like white complexion. And so people just assumed, even when they saw my father, who's a professor at Southern University, whose name is Ahmed, so Ahmad,
right?
They assumed, oh, he's just biracial. And my mother was very white, in her complexion. May Allah have mercy on her. I was like, oh, he's just biracial, So it's like not unfamiliar in Louisiana to be that way, right? So that was kind of the thing. So then I went to school. I went to McKinley. If you read up on the history of McKinley, it's where Imam Jamil went to school, by the way. Decades before me, obviously. It has, there's rich hip hop culture there. You and I can talk offline about all the people that I knew that you probably have worked with in the industry that went to school with me, that I actually knew personally. Some of them privately took Shahada with me, alhamdulillah, later on in life. And then 15, 20 years later, people found out they were Muslim. And I'm like, no, he took Shahada back in McKinley, back in the school days, but he's been through a really rough journey, to get there. But in any case, all that to say that was something that I lived and I understood, just being in the context of Louisiana, right, in South Louisiana, in the school. Everyone that was close to me, or not everyone, just to be precise, but let's just say 90% of everyone that was beloved to me was Black growing up. My closest friends, my inner circle, my father's inner circle, my mother's inner circle, like the people that were closest to us. And so it was natural. Like I didn't have to learn this, if that makes sense. And I say that to say, alhamdulillah, that learning curve that maybe other people have, I didn't have that learning curve. It was a part of my childhood. It was a part of how I grew up.